some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
This is my boomstick. Here's Johnny.
I have to return some videotapes.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Hello and welcome to a brutally comedic episode of All Things Horror. I am your host Ben and I'm joined here with my co-host Matt. If you're new to the show, each week we choose a movie to break down, we give it a review, give it our honest opinions, and then we rate it from 1 to 10. We have a brief spoiler-free chat about the film before we head into the plot and discuss our favourite and least favourite parts of the movie. And if you stick around until the very end, we finish off with some interesting trivia and a fun little game. This week we're going to be discussing Hatchet from 2006. And that is about a group of tourists that go for a swamp tour and they find themselves lost in the forest. Their fun tour turns horrifically wrong when they discover the legend of Victor Crowley. And this is written and directed by Adam Green with a cast of Joel Moore, Tamara, Feldman, Deon, Richmond and Kane Hodder with a total runtime of an hour and a half. And I think it's available on Prime, but I watched it on Freevee for free. Yeah, so at the end of last episode, I actually gave you the choice, Matt, between this one and Children of the Corn, because I was off to HorrorCon and they had guests from both of the films. However, you said that you wasn't really a huge fan of either of them. After watching this, I can kind of understand why.
Yeah, I think Hatchet... I don't know. I've watched quite a few of the Hatchet films, all out of order. I think I probably watched the first one first, unusually for me. And I like Adam Green. Like, I like what he's done. I like how he's taken that kind of fan passion, got lots of people who are really good at their jobs together, and kind of made, like, when it was quite unpopular to do so, made like a kind of love letter to the films that he enjoyed as a young man. And I think for me, the Hatchet films come across like very good fan films, like, and they're good fun. They're all like self-promoted. He's done so much on it, but what you get with these as opposed to a lot of fan films is you get people like all those names you mentioned, like Kane Hodder and even John Carl Buckler, who does the special effects, has done special effects in so many amazing films. Like one of my favourites, TerrorVision and Friday the 13th. I think he does I'm sure maybe it's part 5. He did the special effects, but he's an incredible director. He also directed the film Cellar Dweller, which I like a lot. So the people he surrounds himself with are great, and some of the kills are quite wild, and I think people like that. Yeah. I feel like this is it's a tricky one. I'm not sure what I think about Hatchet, really. I know people who absolutely love it, and I get why. And I think maybe like Adam Green's like the Damien Leone of his day. Like, it's almost perfected by Terrifier what Adam Green's trying to do. And fair play to him. He's got so many cool people involved in it, whether it's Robert Englund, and I can't remember, I confuse all the names that pop up throughout the series. I get so confused with which one they're in. And it kind of becomes Perry Shen's franchise as we go along, rather than, like, we follow Joel David Moore's character in this, but it becomes more about the, like, Perry Shen's, is he called Shane? in this, but he has lots of different names because he's pretending to be different people. But yeah, he's it sort of becomes more his. He follows him more, but like I think this is possibly the best of the series. So if you're not a fan of the first one, it might not be worth watching the rest.
This kind of this took me by surprise a little bit because I hadn't seen this. I'd heard of it. It's been on my radar for a while. I have been meaning to watch it. But I had no idea that it was like a comedy horror. And when I was about to press play on the TV and it said it as the genre comedy horror, I figured it might have been a typo or something. I honestly didn't expect it to be like that. And after about 30 seconds into it, I can understand.
I'm not sure.
Was, but,
I'm not sure if they know, like, it's a comedy horror. Like, in a way. I think they do, because he's made comedies. Adam Green's made comedy series and stuff like that. But, like, the balance is a bit strange because it is super gory in places and then quite broad humour in others. Which is fine if that's kind of what you're going for.
I mean, I guess it's not like in your face. It's not like a scary movie type film.
No,
where they're completely ripping it, but it's planted heavily throughout, I'd say, but not so much where it's in your face, where it kind of takes over the film. I would say it is definitely more horror than it is comedy.
Yeah,
but there were some moments where I actually laughed out loud.
Yeah, there's some like it's just how deliberately corny is it trying to be, I guess, is the question. And like I think he's like trying to amp up some of the campiness that people love from slasher films, but the problem is when those people are making those original slasher films, they're not trying to make them campy. Like they're trying to make a slasher film, and it just turns out a little bit campy unintentionally. It's a bit like it's a bit like, say, you know, like films that are really people can't. Like people really get into films like, say, Birdemic because he's trying to make an incredibly earnest attempt at making a film. It's just doesn't come out that way, and everyone has a good laugh. But when he makes Birdemic 2 and Birdemic 3, he's in on the joke. He knows what he's trying to, and it doesn't have the same impact. It's the same as if, like, Samurai Cop's another example where the second one, they're all in on the joke, and instantly it stops becoming like a camp classic. So in this one, I feel like with Hatchet, the issue is maybe it's trying to be campy, and you don't try to be campy, you just are or you're not. Like, you try and make a horror film, put some humour in it. If that humour doesn't quite land, then it becomes quite campy. Or put something unusual in it, and if you're trying to be super serious and it doesn't come across super serious, then it becomes a bit of a cult classic. However, there are some die-hard fans of Hatchet. Like, Hatchet is a really beloved film. I didn't realise this. By a lot of people, so we're probably going to upset a lot of people, but
yeah, well, I was going into this, what was this, 2006, did I say? Yeah, so mid 2000s. I was going into this fully expecting it to be on par with kind of Wrong Turn, and I guess if they did kind of like narrow it down on the comedy side, it probably would have ended up being more like that.
Yeah, I prefer it to Wrong Turn.
Do you...
I prefer it to ones that maybe are very sort of straight-laced. But equally, I'm under no illusions that this is a great film. I have tried with so many in this series. I'm so confused, and it's got so many, like I say, so many people that I like in it. I like Adam Green. He's a really good person to listen to him in interviews as well. Like, he's fascinating, and like he's made this pretty much into a pretty mainstream film, doing all the work himself. Like, against the odds, it's pretty amazing the success that these films have had. You know, without any real backing other than the backing of his his own determination to get these things done and building links in the community with fans and actors. So, like, it's pretty amazing what he's done.
Yeah, well, you're talking about people in it. I mean, it's not just Kane Hodder, obviously. You got Freddy Krueger himself, you got Robert Englund, you got Candyman, you got Tony Todd, even though he is briefly in it. But yeah, they're three heavy hitters in the horror, so yeah.
And like proper actors in it throughout, like people you've seen in things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or you've seen them in things before. So like the level of acting is better than a standard like fan film where you might get one of those people in it. You might get one famous face or something.
Am I right in thinking that this didn't go to cinema and it was more of like a direct release straight to DVD?
I think there was a lot. I think what he was trying to do was similar to what some people do, where they get it put on themselves at certain. I think it did get a cinematic release, but from what I remember, it really got scuppered by the companies that they work with to get it. The production companies that they work with, like I think it was like put in and then taken off, or put in a limited place. I remember an interview with him that I saw, and it's almost against the odds because there was nobody who had the confidence in the film, because it wasn't a time when slasher films were popular.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, I think it was in and out of cinemas. I think it was definitely found on DVD by a lot of people, or on things like Freevee or Amazon Prime and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering because, I mean, that's my era, the 2000s era. Even though I don't really like 2000s era movies, but I don't ever remember this being in my local theatre.
No, not in the UK.
No,
definitely not in the UK. I think in America a limited.
Yeah.
Amount, but in the UK, not I don't think at all.
But looking at the numbers, I mean, they are not good. Like, it had a budget of 1.5 mil, which I can see that's fine. But it only made 208k.
Yeah.
So hardly anything made back. They took a big loss, which is surprising that they went on to make a further 3 more movies.
Yeah, and was there 3 and then Victor Crowley? Is that the 4th?
Yeah, I think, is that the 4th one?
Yeah, there's 3 Hatchet movies and then 4th Victor Crowley. Yeah, all filmed in Louisiana, all filmed through sort of creative funding from Adam Green. It's pretty amazing that they've managed to get that amount done, and it has become. I think as well, because not many films these days get to make that many. Like, we're desperate for new franchises. Yeah. So I think there's a bit of that as well, that people can go, I'll watch all 4 Hatchet movies.
That's what, that's what surprised me. Yeah, that's what surprised me, because there has been films that have made a decent money back from the box office, and they haven't gone on to make any more. But this is very low budget anyway, and it made almost nothing back. Well, less than a quarter, however you want to work it out. I'm not good at maths. 1.5 mil, and it made 200k. So yeah, not a lot. And then it went on to make quite a lot. And you say as well, it's got quite a big fan base. So
yeah, and I think the main money he made from it has been in like sort of screenings way down the line, kind of getting fans together to watch all the screenings of it, kind of set up by Adam Green and people like that. I think the big thing is, I think he's very active in the horror community, fan community. So, for example, like his thing was, we're not seeing any horror films without CGI. We're not seeing enough practical effects. So, like, his rule in this was there's no CGI at all. It's all practical effects. So like he has a fan base of people who agree with him about things.
I agree.
So
with
he
that.
does the convention circuits and he gets people in that way. So I think that's probably why, in a way, if it came out now, I feel like they perfected the marketing of films like this with Terrifier. People were saying the same things about Hatchet when it came out that they were saying about Terrifier, but I don't think it was utilized in the same way. It wasn't like mass everybody hearing about the film like it was with Terrifier. Like I was reading about Terrifier in like broadsheet newspapers and stuff like that about people being sick or nervous or throwing up in the film or different things. That was exactly how people were reacting and talking about Hatchet, but it wasn't like the trigger wasn't pulled on it in the same way as Terrifier. So it's kind of amazing it's still got a life now. And I think some of that as well, people can watch it and it's familiar. Was like you say, Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, Tony Todd, Danielle Harris. Like horror fans are the fan base. It's not trying to make new fans, is it? It's not trying to get like new people into the cinema. It's just like, oh, do you remember those things you like? Here are all the people from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even Felissa Rose is in it from Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I got. Oh yeah, I was going to show you this. Where is he? When I was at HorrorCon, I got this one really cheap. I'm showing that on webcam. I got a little Victor Crowley figure.
Wow, is that like a Toony Terrors or was it?
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Toony Terrors. I think they're really cool. I've got Herbert West Toony Terror from Reanimator and Halloween 3 ones. And I'm sure I have another Toony Terror, but I can't think what it is. How strange.
I got him quite cheap because he was out of the box.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And also, Toony Terrors are a good way of collecting horror figures that I think look really good, but they're not like the top price bracket. That's it. Elvira. I've got an Elvira Toony Terrors as well.
Oh, yeah, I see her. Yeah. That's cool.
So, yeah, I've got quite... I prefer them, but actually, I think for Halloween 3, they're the best. I don't know if you can see it, actually. They're the best representation of the 3 kids. So yeah, I do like them. I'm a fan. But it just shows you that Victor Crowley's kind of in that same company, isn't he? He's seen as a proper franchise character.
Yeah.
What do you think of the actual Victor Crowley character, like the way he looks and stuff like that?
He was alright. He was good. It kind of shocked me at first in that scene. I'm trying not to give any spoilers away, but when you first see him, when he runs out his little, was it like a little house shed thing, hut? Where he first kind of runs out. It happened really quickly, and I wasn't expecting it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Kane Hodder. He's massive, so I'd be scared of just Kane Hodder, let alone a guy with a great big gouge down the middle of his face and running at you. But yeah, I was going to say actually, because Kane Hodder obviously plays Victor Crowley. He's most known for playing Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th from part 7 to 10. But other than those, have you ever seen any more of his films? I've seen the Ed Gein one. They did a film on Ed Gein, but it's not that good.
Because he did stunts in things, didn't he? Like he did the stunts in 7.
Yeah, well, I think even in this one,
he's been on a lot of low budget stuff.
Even in this one, he was the stunt coordinator.
I tell a lie. I've seen, and this is it. Like a lot of the people involved have had really good backgrounds and stuff. He plays himself in a film called 13 Fanboy, which is basically an obsessed fan stalking the actors from Friday the 13th, which I thought was a really good idea. It's got Dee Wallace in it. It's got Corey Feldman in it. C.J. Graham, Lockhart Lincoln. So many people you recognise, but it doesn't quite pull it off. But it was a good idea. But he's in that, obviously plays himself in that, so it's not difficult, I guess.
Well, I would love to see an actual really good rendition of the Ed Gein film. Because have you seen what Ed Gein actually looks like.
No, I mean, that's who Leatherface is based on as well, isn't it?
Yeah, who's based on, yeah. But if you look at a picture of him, just think of the exact opposite of Kane Hodder. That's what he looks like.
Right.
He's a very skinny little weird man. And they got Kane Hodder to play him. So,
right, they're just like, let's get a badass. Yeah. It's interesting, though, the cast in this. Again, the familiarity, I think, is the key to its success in a lot of ways. Like, even people like Joel David Moore, you'd be like, I know that face from somewhere. I know he was like in Dodgeball. Yeah. But like he's gone on, he's in Avatar. Like Deon Richmond is in like Not Another Teen Movie. He was in Scream 3. He was in Cosby Show. Like, you've got so many, like Mercedes McNab from she was an Addams Family, but also she was best known for being Anya in Buffy. Like, so many people, as I go through it all, even Joshua Leonard from Blair Witch Project is in it. You're like, oh, all these faces are familiar from films that I like. So you feel straight away quite comfortable. And I think it's like a kind of comfort film, maybe. But or maybe people who have seen all the Friday the 13th films 1,000 times, and they're like, I want to watch a film that isn't a massive departure from that, but it is new. And this ticks that box. Yeah. No, I agree. Even though it isn't necessarily, it has its moments, but it feels like a lot of ideas all strung together. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot there to work with. It's like maybe almost too many people in it as well. Yeah, it does get a bit crowded sometimes. Yeah. Saying that, they do get killed off quite quickly, so it kind of like they have to have people to kill, Right, should we go ahead and jump into the plot? Yeah. I'll hit that spoiler warning right now.
Spoiler warning.
Right, so the movie starts off with a man and his son hunting alligators in a swamp. They pull the boat over so the son can take a piss, and while he's doing that, he goes a bit quiet and he finds his dad's dead body before he too is then killed by some unseen person. Cut to, I think it's a week later, and we meet Ben and Marcus. They're at Mardi Gras, and Ben convinces Marcus to leave and go on a haunted swamp tour. They find the tour is closed because the guide, Reverend Zombie, he was sued for negligence. Reverend Zombie suggests that they try...
It's not first name Rob.
So Rob Zombie suggests that they try a place further down the road, owned by the inexperienced tour guide Sean. And then, it cuts to Marilyn Manson in the intro credits. That seemed to be a big kind of 2000s horror trend with the the new metal kind of soundtracks. Specifically new metal. I think
that's the only thing that really kind of, in a strange sort of way, dates it, isn't it? Like the music and maybe some of the clothes that the men wear, and the...
I think it ends on Marilyn Manson as well. I think it goes out on the same one.
Everything about this film is really on the nose. Like, it's not subtle. And I might even say, like, it's the only thing that's quite creative and clever about it is the kills, which is how it got crushed in the theatres, because the MPAA cut all of the Victor Crowley movies, loads and loads and loads. So, like, the versions that people love are the ones that they've seen at home. And that's possibly why it didn't get the word of mouth in the cinemas. And it was only released by Anchor Bay, who are not like a massive company. But it's interesting to note that maybe the versions people watched at the cinema is nothing like the versions we're talking about now.
What did you think of Tony Todd's character? He was a very weird, kind of intense guy. He had that little
He's supposed
scene
to
in
like a
Final
voodoo-
Destination, didn't he? Like it's almost like they were like, "Oh, we got Tony Todd. We got 5 minutes. Let's just put him in there, and he can just creep people out, and then just write him off, and they'll have nothing else to do with the rest of the movie."
Yeah, I think it's like it's not very tightly scripted. I think it's like quite just like you say, just let him go, just let him do what he wants, and he's gone full voodoo priest kind of, Papa Shango kind of thing, and just so.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's one of those, isn't it? You've got to get as much out of the people if you've got them for like a day, or whatever. I'm never sure if he comes back in some of the later ones. I think he does. I get so confused with these.
Oh dear. So what happens next? They get on a bus where they meet the other tourists, 2 models with their so-called agent, an older married couple, and Mary Beth. They board a boat where they make their way through the swamp, but Sean crashes it and the boat begins sinking, forcing everyone to abandon ship. And while doing so, Jim is bitten and injured by an alligator. And as they stagger through the forest, they stumble upon an old abandoned shack, which Mary Beth identifies as the old Crowley house. And then you get a bit of a flashback where Mary Beth tells a story on how deformed Victor Crowley and his father lived in the house until some kids that were tormenting Victor accidentally set fire to the house. And when Victor's dad tried saving him, he accidentally struck him in the head with a hatchet.
Oops.
Yeah, and now it's said that Victor roams the swamp as a vengeful spirit, killing anyone who comes across him. Yeah, that flashback scene, that very much reminded me of The Burning.
Well, I think, everything that you see in this film, if you've watched all of slasher films of the 80s, maybe late 70s, possibly early 90s, then you'll see all of those things.
Yeah.
Again, it's like playing the hits, That's why I think it's found its audience. And go, oh, that reminds me a bit of that. It's like, it's not as good as, but it's got all of them in it. So it's a bit like having a box of chocolates, but like somebody's. No, that's not a good example. Well, it actually is. Imagine getting all the chocolates from a box of chocolates and then putting them in a blender, and then putting it into like a chocolate milkshake of every chocolate. That's this film.
Is that a good thing, though?
No, it's a bad. Well, some people will be like, "Oh, it tastes a bit like the things I like," and then other people will be like, "It's a bit of everything, and it makes me feel sick."
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good example.
I think it is actually. As a good, I like that. Too much of anything can make you a bit sick.
True.
One problem. One of my main problems I actually have is with the sets, like the set designs for this film, like specifically like the forest sets. You can tell they weren't real because it was very, I don't know how to explain it, like boxy. It was very, you could tell it was a set, very boxy, the way everything was set out. They walk on from one side, they talk for 5 minutes, and then they all walk through off the other side. Cut to the next shot. There's another boxy kind of set. Someone walks in that on the left, and then they walk out the right.
I think that's a really good observation. And as I don't know if you will watch the other ones, but as we go along and the budgets fluctuate, there are scenes where it's like in the corner of a bookshop or a hotel room. So everything feels quite claustrophobic throughout these films. Yeah. Or really, they make it really dark and they run, like you say, from one patch of grass to another patch of grass.
Yeah.
Or they're on the boat forever. Or I think there's one of them. Is this the one with the plane? No. So there's one with a plane, and they spend like 70% of the movie in the plane.
One thing that I found funny is when after Mary Beth tells that story about Victor Crowley, one of them goes, "Oh, and there's Victor Crowley's house," and they're all looking at it, and she goes, "No, that's not Victor Crowley's house. That's Victor Crowley's house," pointing slightly more to the right, and the camera's just like woof. So yeah, Mary Beth, she also reveals the reason that she came to the swamp was to find her missing father and brother, who we see in the intro. Everyone dismisses the story as an urban legend, but lo and behold, Victor runs out the house, killing the old married couple with in a fantastically brutal way, I've got to say. The group flees off, and Shapiro, I think he's that agent guy, he's killed next by Victor, and the remaining survivors decide that they need to return to the house where they can arm themselves and fight back.
We must fight back.
Yeah, that I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been the old woman. It was one of the old people where Victor, like, he grabs the mouth and he just completely tears it in half. Like,
so that wasn't. They weren't able to see that in the theatre.
Damn.
So, like, if that's what you're going for, you're not getting to see.
That's the best bit of the film.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think that's why it's maybe had the legs that some films from around that time have not, like indie films or low budget films. It's because people have actually gone back and go, I don't remember that. It's because they didn't see it.
Yeah.
like it's a lot better than I remember it for the special effects. Yeah, because you didn't see them.
Talking of special effects, like there were a few times where, like, the camera pans off to a tree and they're literally just chucking like a bucket of fake blood at the tree. It's not like a splattering, it's like a full-on bucket of blood.
Yeah, I think possibly the thing like the head tear apart and the close-up stuff, I think that's John Carl Buckler's area of expertise. Like, the guy is a genius. Whereas the rest of the things have to be done very creatively to make it have the impression of something happening. So I guess you're getting that balance there of the really... And I think as well, and this might come across as a bit mean, but, like, he's not the greatest director in the world. So knowing what to leave in and what to put out and what to point the camera at isn't always great. But, you know, he knows... He loves horror so much. You can see that in the film. Like, I appreciate that from it. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he needs to be Martin Scorsese or something. But yeah, it's just like you said, there's maybe things like that. It's hard, isn't it? Because if they're cutting out all the good stuff, then you're watching this. All you're getting is the buckets of blood thrown against a tree.
But I'm half thinking, like, how much did they pay Tony Todd to feature in that film for just a few minutes, just so they can say, "Oh, Tony Todd's in it," and they could have used, like, because they did not need that at all. Like, it was literally them knocking on a door and him saying, "Go see someone else."
I think maybe some of that. I don't know. I'm not saying he was free. But some of it is like, some of it I think was free. Some of the stuff, some of the people, because he knew them or, begged them or asked them and stuff. Okay. But, like, I can see that as well, even more so now. Like, if I'm trying to interview somebody, I'll just directly email them, and some people are just like, yeah, I love it, I'll do it straight away. If somebody's going, we're filming this film, we can't pay you very much, but, like, we'll do this, this, and this, or whatever. Or they know him beforehand. Then maybe, I don't know. I'm just wondering, but you're right. It could be that they spent all the money on every single cameo and ran out.
That's what was going through my mind when I was watching it. I was like, well, they could have done away with Tony Todd, saved that money, and actually put it into the budget to get like a better whatever it could do to make it better. But well, saying that, actually, I was talking about set designs before. Around this time as well, they're running through a graveyard. And I think there's 3 of them, and they lean on this brick wall, and the whole wall just like moves and wobbles. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was just my eyes, but yeah, it looked like it was again another cheap set, and they like lean on the wall, and the whole wall kind of like moves and wobbles a little bit. It's supposed to be like a big stone kind of wall. Yeah.
Isn't it funny though, like the ones that we watched when we were younger and the ones we talk about from the 80s, we don't really notice those things as much. And is it maybe because they're not in HD?
maybe, yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe they were more economical because they were using film, so they left out more.
I don't know. It's things like that. It kind of like takes me out of the moment. I'm watching something and I notice something and I'm like, hey. You know? Yeah.
And I guess the more, the clearer it is on the screen, the easier it is to see those mistakes.
Well, yeah. All right. So
I tried to fix that by doing it all at night, but it didn't quite work, did it?
No. So while they're at the house, Mary Beth discovers her dad and brother's remains. Victor then ambushes the group, and he takes a belt sander to Jenna's face, which is pretty brutal. And then he decapitates Sean with a shovel. The others lure.
That was it, Sean.
Sean, yeah.
I remember Sean now because Sean's brother, identical twin brother, he becomes like the main focus of the later films.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, the others lure Victor back to his house and they set him on fire, but then it starts raining and it puts it out. And Victor then kills Marcus and chases after Ben and Mary Beth, where Ben's foot is impaled by a pole thrown by Victor. They push the pole forward, resulting in Victor impaling himself on it as he charges at them. They take a spare boat out of the swamp. Mary Beth falls into the water. Not quite sure how, but she falls in. And she's tangled by seaweed and stuff in the water. She sees Ben's hand at the surface reaching up to it and is pulled out. However, it is Victor who had severed Ben's arm and used it as bait to Mary Beth to get her up. And then the film ends with Victor grabbing Mary Beth as Ben lies dying in the boat without an arm. Yeah, I got
Harmless.
Yeah, I got a bit of a problem with that ending. Not so much the concept of him, like Victor killing him.
Yeah.
But it's more the fact, like, how abrupt it was. It was very quick. Like, she was, like, mid-scream as well. Like, it was like... It's almost like there needed to be an extra couple of seconds, but it just cut straight to black. Marilyn Manson on. End film.
Yeah. Was that the era of, like I feel like that's how Final Destination finished as well.
Yeah, you might be right, actually.
It was like sudden thing, bang, credits, heavy metal or new metal. I don't know. Maybe that's just the done thing at the time.
Oh, man, this is why I just don't like 2000s horrors. That whole era from 2000 to 2010. I'm not a fan. Yeah, all right. Let's go to our ratings. So 1 to 10, alligators to the leg. How many are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it perfect for legs. I'm giving it 6.5.
6.5.
6.5. I don't think it is. which I feel is quite generous. Like, I feel like I'm being quite generous. So I think I'm almost giving that extra half because I like what Adam Green's done so much. I admire his tenacity and love of horror and creativity and ability to get all these people into a movie and to follow his love of horror and create a franchise that people really do love and go back to in a time when it wasn't particularly very popular to do so. So that being said, I do think that is 6.5 is quite generous.
Yeah.
Some people might hate it, some people might love it. But for me, yeah, I think I'm being quite nice. He's the prototype Damien Leone, and yeah, fair play. I think as well, for people to judge it, they need to see them now. If maybe they watched them back at the time, maybe if they're in America and they watch them in the cinema, or they watch different cut versions. But I think if you watch the uncut versions, you get to see some of the really cool special effects that John Carl Buckley did.
Yeah,
and there's not bad actors in this. It's like not a bad set of actors. It's lacking in certain areas, but actors and special effects and kind of those are the things that they do well. So that's my positive review of this film.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a very, very generous. I'm gonna go less. I'm gonna give it a lower than average rating. I was gonna give it a 4.5.
Maybe I should have gone a bit lower.
So yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, honestly, I didn't expect it to be like this at all. I'd heard about it. I've heard about Victor Crowley. So in my head, I was expecting a very kind of serious kind of slasher movie. Yeah, I didn't expect it to go more into like the comedy horror. Maybe if I knew that before going into it, and like I prepared myself for it being quite comedic, then I would have relaxed a little bit and took it for what it was. That being said, it did have some good things going for it, like the cast, like Robert Englund and Tony Todd, and
it's a tricky one.
No.
Rate, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I'm gonna say the best thing this had going for it was the practical effects. I really liked all the kills, especially the one where he rips the head straight in half. I thought that was absolutely brutal. So yeah, lower than average. 5 is average. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
And most of those points are for John Carl Buckley's special effects.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm giving it, and I'm going to stick with it. Maybe I will visit the sequels some point down the line.
Yeah,
are they all?
They're not bad. I've seen a lot worse.
Are they all the same? Are they all kind of like comedy, kind of horror?
Yes, yeah, and they get more sort of confusing because of multiple characters played by the same actors and different kind of. I think by the time you get to, I'm not a big fan of the last one, the Victor Crowley. The one before that, what was it, Hatchet 3? I think I quite liked. Yeah, I don't know. I think possibly most people would probably say this is the best one. But everything has something. This is why it's hard to discuss them, because everything about them they have something that make them worth watching. But you know, I'm under no illusions that they're great films.
No.
But they're watchable. Like, they're not impossible to get through. Yeah, that's not necessarily a ringing endorsement of the films. I don't really know how to answer. Should I watch the rest of them? I don't want to be responsible for that. But yeah, I would watch them. I would watch them and see what you think. I'd be interested to see what you think.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll probably check him out at some point. All right. Let's go through some trivia.
Trivia. Oh, yeah.
I don't really have an awful lot. One of them we already spoke about. Adam Green created a no CGI rule for post-production. The only CGI that was used was to remove on-screen wires. That's the only CGI that was allowed in the film, according to Adam Green, which I can fully get on board with. Adam Green, he actually has a cameo as one of the friends in the group at the start at Mardi Gras. Victor Crowley only actually kills one person on screen with a hatchet.
Head Ripper. It should have been called Head Ripper.
The only other one I've got is when actor Joel David Moore vomits on screen. It is real. Adam Green did not want the actors spitting out fake vomit like most movies do, though Moore managed to throw up on his own for the first time, for the first take. He was supplied with a mixture. Do you want to take a guess on what he ate or drank to make himself sick? It's a mixture of two things.
Is it pea soup and Gatorade?
Ah, yeah, close. It was clam chowder and orange juice.
Oh, wasn't too far away.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, that's all I got for trivia. So let's jump into this week's game.
I want to play a game.
Right. So this game is kill count. So I'm going to name 6 movies, and you've got to try and guess the correct amount of kills it had. And to make it a little more relatable, these are all 2000s horrors.
Oh, great. My perfect area of expertise. Actually, no, I'm probably okay up to maybe 2010, and then I drop off massively.
All right, so first up is this film, Hatchet. How many kills were in Hatchet?
12. This is impossible.
It was 9 kills.
I was going to say 9.
Next up is Freddy versus Jason.
12.
No, it was actually 22.
22?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think there's a scene where they're at like a party and Jason just kills everyone at the party outside. Okay, next up is Final Destination. And I will give you a little bit of help because it was a big number, but they were including all the people on the plane when the plane blew up. So not including the plane deaths. How many actual people characters?
So we're not including every single person who died on the plane?
Not on the plane, no. No strangers.
12.
Ooh. You were close, it was 11.
Oh, man. If I keep saying 12.
Cabin Fever.
12.
22.
Oh, man. I was 22 in the other one as well.
I know.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Jeepers Creepers.
22.
7.
Oh, man. I was going to say it was 12.
Last up, The Human Centipede.
Oh. 8.
It was 12. No, it wasn't. It was 6.
Oh, okay. Oh, man, that's not too bad. I got 0.
You got 0.
Is that what I get when I get 0? 'Cause I don't think I've ever got 0 before.
No.
We've been doing this over a year now, and
Yep.
I'm getting worse.
You either get that for full marks or no marks at all.
All right, okay, that's good.
Yeah, so you've got it twice now.
Yeah. From one extreme to the other. The average score of my thing is probably dead in the middle.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up. So, next episode, you'll be excited for this. It's another film that I haven't seen, and I recently got it on Blu-ray at Horicon. It is Reanimator.
Yes, a good film.
Yeah.
No offense, fans of Hatchet, but we're talking Reanimator here. We're talking Dr. Herbert West Esquire.
Cool. I know absolutely nothing about that film.
Oh, I can't wait for you to watch it. I can't. I know I'm guilty of building up films and then you're not liking them. Halloween 3,
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall. But this one, right. If you don't like this, then I don't know.
All right.
I'll be very disappointed in you.
No pressure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, other than that, the poll pick, I've been a bit late on the poll pick, but I've put it up today. And the poll pick is for sequels, and that's between A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Scream 2, and Child's Play 2.
Ooh. I voted already.
You voted, have you?
Mm-hmm. Not going to tell you what for.
Okay. I won't tell you what I voted for.
It's what do you call it? It's
secret.
It's like when you go to the polling, for like a general election.
Don't look at my card. Right. Yeah, that's all for today. Unless you got anything else, I will see us out.
No, I'm looking forward to talking Reanimator. Can't wait.
Me too. Right, so if you've liked today's episode and want to hear more, then go ahead and give us a follow on wherever you're listening from. You can find us on Facebook, as that's where we stick up our poll picks, where you get to vote what we do next. And yeah, that's all for today, so thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Killer, mommy. Killer.
We all go a little mad sometimes.